Hey, wait. You can't, buddy.
That's not it.
This is not your time. That's how they walk around. This is not how you...
Should I be wearing Gymshark? Look more professional. Hey guys, what doing? It's Mango Alley here at Down the Alleyway, and today I'm coming at you with everybody is a summer body, but who doesn't want to build their booty? And if you want to build your booty, I have one thing to say to you, and that's stop doing squats. Okay, squatting is still a good complex movement that you can put into your program if you enjoy squatting, or if you don't enjoy squatting, there's no need to do it to build your booty specifically. If you're looking for that booty pump, squatting is not where you're gonna find it. At least not the most effective. So you may be thinking, what do I do to grow my booty then? What is the God tier movement? Well, I'm here to tell you, and that is glute bridges and or hip thrusts. This is the secret. I literally don't squat. I don't squat. I don't enjoy doing it. I have osteoarthritis in my knees. So squatting is also a lot harder for me than a hip thrust. So also, if you have bad knees, don't think that you can't get a booty because you can't squat. A glute bridge and a hip thrust are virtually the same kind of movement. Hip thrusts typically just have one thing elevated, whether that be your feet or your back. And a glute bridge is typically just performed on the floor. I live in Ontario, which means we don't have gyms right now. Don't push up against my tripod. You're gonna knock shit over. Please move away. I live in Ontario, which means we don't have gym access right now. I would love to demonstrate this in a gym. It would make it literally 1,000 times easier because we seem to be the only place in the world that's still in a red zone lockdown. Oh my God, stop touching the tripod. And I was ultimately planning to film this video at a time where I would have a gym, but I don't have a video for this week because something didn't come in the mail, which should have come in the mail by now, but it hasn't shown up yet. So that was supposed to be that video, but besides the point, I'm gonna tell you how to grow your booty. So why pick a glute bridge over a back squat, or why does the glute bridge actually work better than the back squat for overall muscle hypertrophy with your booty? First off, you have more consistent tension while doing a hip thrust, whereas the tension in a back squat will be on and off. So the hip thrust is more of a targeted muscle building movement, whereas a back squat is classified as a complex movement, meaning you're working a lot of different muscles. And your pump in your booty is going to be much more significant because it causes more metabolic stress on those glute muscles while doing a hip thrust, versus you're gonna feel like a more entire lower body kind of pump when it comes to the back squat. A lot of people's quads aren't strong enough to actually hold the weight that they could be pushing while doing a hip thrust. So therefore you would be pushing more weight doing a hip thrust and building more muscle mass than you would be doing a back squat. But since you're doing the back squat, you're holding yourself back from hitting a more impressive PR for your booty specifically. The back squat has also shown to do more muscular damage to the glutes in comparison to the hip thrust. Yes, muscular damage can be used for muscle growth, but it is absolutely not needed, and it is not actually proven to show better hypertrophy than doing something that doesn't damage. And use damage like lightly. Like, I'm not saying like you're doing it and it's dangerous. As well as a glute bridge actually loads the glutes past the point of their neutral stance. So when performing other like famously known glute building exercises, such as a back squat or a deadlift, you actually don't move past your hips neutral position, whereas in a hip thrust, you're actually optimizing a wider range of movement. So with a hip thrust, you're basically targeting specifically your glute and a little hamstring. It's almost a pure hip extension movement. And a lot of people like to add a booty band in there to really pull out more and more gains while working other parts of the booty. You are mainly working your gluteus maximus while doing just a regular hip thrust or glute bridge. When you add a band around your knees, you're doing a hip abduction as well, which is working that outer booty. I specifically recommend the hip thrust with something elevated because, as I said, that's really doing a vast amount more work because you're using a way bigger range of motion. You can also do this with one leg raised, or even with your feet touching, your knees pushed out and doing a frog glute bridge. Performing these are ultimately pretty simple. You just need to keep a few things in mind to make sure you're not going to be damaging your lower back and to make sure that you're really getting that targeted glute burn. When performing a glute bridge and you're on the ground, you're going to want to make sure that you have a full pelvic tilt to protect your lower back. You're going to flex your tummy and pull your belly button in to make sure your lower back is touching the ground. Your whole goal from the second you leave the floor to the second you completely touch it again is to squeeze your booty like there is millions of dollars between your cheeks. You have Elon Musk's bank account between your cheeks. I recommend going pretty slow with these, taking your time, really feeling that mind-muscle connection, flexing super, super hard. Some of the biggest mistakes that I see when people are performing these in the gym is they're having that huge arch in their back. Like I said, you need to make sure that you're really focusing on pulling that pelvis under. I also see a lot of people having failure to lock out their hips. This typically doesn't happen in a glute bridge. It happens in a hip thrust where there is the elevation happening. And typically failure to lock out your hips is because you're pushing too much weight. So I'm a firm believer of this with every single movement that you do when it comes to adding weight. Please don't sacrifice form to hit a PR. Going to failure for me is not just going to failure, it is going to failure with proper form. Because if you're not doing proper form, there are so many things that could go wrong. So failure to lock out your hips and not feeling that entire pop and tilt is going to be a huge sign that you're pushing too much weight. And I'm not saying this to tell you to never do squats again. If you enjoy doing squats and you see great results doing squats, don't listen to me telling you not to do squats. I am the girl who didn't grow my booty with squats. Squats don't work for my booty anywhere near as well as glute bridges and hip thrusts do. So if you're one of those people who is having a problem growing their booty with those basic back squat, deadlift, donkey kick kind of movements, though I don't hate donkey kicks as much as I hate squats, to be honest. Or if you're also like me in the other way, which is you have knee problems and all of that weight specifically on your knees is much harder, then the glute bridge is going to be your best friend. The hip thrust is going to be your best friend. I hope you found this video educational. I hope you learned something. If you did, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you can get notified every single time I post. I post on Wednesdays. And if you want to see more of me, all my socials will be linked in the description below, as well as it will come up across the bottom of the screen. All of that being said, I'm going to head out because I don't know, I don't really have anything to do actually.